Welcome in this video about thresholds. The European Medicine Agency defines three types of thresholds for impurities in pharmaceuticals. First, there is a reporting threshold. This is a level at which an impurity should be reported. When the concentration of an impurity exceeds this threshold in a drug substance or drug product, it must be formally reported in regulatory documents, including communications to regulatory authorities. Then, as briefly touched before, there is the identification threshold. The identification threshold is a level at which an impurity must be identified. If an impurity is present at or above this threshold, it must be identified through appropriate analytical techniques such as chromatography and spectrometry. Identifying impurities helps to determine their origin and potential risks. Lastly, we have the qualification threshold. This threshold is a level at which an impurity must be qualified. Impurities exceeding this threshold require additional studies to assess their potential toxicity and impact on product safety and efficacy at those levels. Qualification means the determination of the impurity's toxicological profile. In the video about impurity characterization, we already introduced the ICH Q3A and Q3B guidelines. These documents provide a way to determine the threshold values for the impurities in drug substances and drug products, considering the maximum daily dose or MDD of the drug, which is the maximum dose recommended for administration to an individual patient in a single day. For drug substance impurities, the suggested threshold values in function of the MDD are presented in this table. If the planned daily intake of our drug substance is 2 grams or less, the thresholds listed in the left column are applicable. On the other hand, for doses exceeding 2 grams, which is a less frequent occurrence, typically associated with less potent drugs, the thresholds from the right column are utilized. For the reporting threshold, the analytical methods to determine the purity of a drug substance batch should be accommodated to this threshold, which means the QL should be below this threshold. Regarding the identification and qualification threshold, 2 options are available when the maximum daily dose is below or equals 2 grams. These options should be interpreted as follows. Standardly, an identification threshold of 0.10% and a qualification threshold of 0.15% for drug substances impurities is applied. However, an absolute impurity intake of 1 mg per day serves as a maximum limit for identifying and qualifying an impurity. Therefore, if the calculated threshold of 0.10 or 0.15% exceeds an equivalence of 1 mg per day, threshold is fixed at 1 mg per day. This can then be recalculated as a percentage of the MDD. Different threshold values apply to degradants present in drug products, with further a subdivision based on the MDD. The interpretation of this table follows the principle as we just discussed for the drug substances impurities. To illustrate this application of these thresholds based on the maximum daily dose, let's consider our VOR tablets with a strength of 10 mg. Assuming a maximum of 5 tablets can be administered daily in case of severe depression, our maximum daily dose would amount to 50 mg of Vortioxetine. Now, calculate reporting threshold, identification threshold, and qualification threshold for this maximum daily dose.